Hello, everybody. Today we are going to review a movie that came out, I think, late last year, um, called Strange World, uh, starring Jake Gyllenhaal as Searcher Clade. Uh, oh my God, is it Yabok? Yabok Young White? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Played Ethan Clade. Gabriel Union played Meridian Clade. Dennis Quaid played Jaeger Clade. Dennis Quaid played Jaeger Clade. Oh my God. That's a tongue twister and a half. Lucy Liu played Castillo Mall. Karen Sony played Caspian. And Alan Tudyk was the narrator, radio host, and Duffel. Who was Duffel? I'm trying to remember who Duffel was. Anyhow, that was, I guess, kind of like the main cast. The rest are kind of secondary. I guess you could say that maybe he was sort of a main character. Ethan Clade's love interest was a character named Diazo, played by Jonathan Mello. And then I don't really think we learn. Do we even know his other friends' names? I guess it must be these two. Nick Dodani played Cardes, and Francesca Rial played Azimuth. That must have been the other two friends. And then Emily Corrado played Ro, who was like the one woman that Searcher goes to meet for something he was picking up in town anyway. So they live on a place called Avalonia, and what was it that they were after? Well, I guess the main thing was that Jaeger Clade and his son, he was trying to raise him to be an explorer, and they wanted to find a way to get over top of the mountains or get to the other side of the mountains because that's where they thought that the answers to becoming a thriving city was going to be on the other side of their mountains. Uh, but then they make another discovery when they're out searching, and oh yeah, Pando. That was what it was. That's what they called it. They called it Pando. But Jaeger Clay decides that he's going to go venturing beyond the mountains by himself, so he leaves his son with his compass, and they take the Pando back, and then 25 years later, that seems to be how Avalonia is thriving, based on the discovery of Searcher Clade, who discovered this Pando and turned it into a renewable resource. But then uh, but then Callisto comes back and says to them that the Pando is dying, even their crops. So they have to go to the heart of where the Pando is to find out what is the problem, and try to fix it, right? So when they first, when they first go down on her ship, it seems that everything is going smoothly, and then all of a sudden these creatures attack the ship, and they fall into this new strange world that they never knew was there underneath Avalonia. So actually, it's kind of funny. A Searcher ends up finding his dad down there. So his dad tells a story of how, I guess when he, I guess he had spent enough time being out in the snow, so he tried to find a new path to through the mountains, and then he ended up the ground gave up, or ground gave way, and he ended up in this place, this strange world, as you could call it, I guess, with all these weird creatures and so on and so forth. Now, one of them, uh, Ethan Clade, named Splat, but I can't remember the actual name of the creatures for some reason. Oh my God, it's um, totally left my mind. But their main goal was to basically lure you in to your own death, even though they may have seemed harmless. I guess they really weren't. Uh, so yeah, but Ethan kind of goes more with the side of his grandfather, Jaeger, as the adventurer, even though Searcher has been trying to raise him his whole life as a farmer. That's just not who Ethan is. He wants to be more of an explorer, and so he ends up just kind of like sneaking onto the ship. And then the mom comes down to try to take him back, and that's when all that happens, and they fall into the earth, fall into the strange world type place, and he finds his father, who's been down there for the past 25 years, trying to find a way through. But when he gets to the what did he call it? It was like a river of acid, basically, and you couldn't get by it. There was no way. But he figured now that they have the ship down there that they can repair, they can fly underneath the mountains and make it to the other side. But when they get down there, uh, they find the root cause of why the Pando is actually, or what they think is the root cause of why the Pando is uh, dying up top in Avalonia and more strong down here, because they find it weird that it gets stronger and stronger as you're going down. But they find the heart. They find what they think was just the heart of the Pando, and it seems to be drawing all its energy in and protecting itself. That's what they think, right? Um, so then Ethan and Searcher get in this huge fight, and they end up actually flying to the other side of what they think is the mountains, and when they get out, this giant eye just opens up, and they're like, oh my god, the entire time we've been living on the back of a giant creature, and it turns out that it isn't just a strange world. We've been actually traveling through the through the creature itself. So like the forests were the lungs, the acid river was the stomach, so on and so forth. So kind of cool to think that that's what they were actually traveling through, was an actual giant creature. Um, I guess which was actually a giant tortoise or turtle, from what I gathered when it zooms out at the end of the movie. But we'll get into that in a second, because I want to talk a little bit more about what actually happens. So they go back in and tell Callisto what's been going on. She says no, the goal was to come down here and save the Pando, not to destroy it. But little did they know that the Pando isn't the problem. It's actually the creature. The Pando is actually killing the creature. So they have to end up destroying the Pando, even though that is going to take away their electricity and so on and so forth at the surface. But I mean, they'll find a new way to make all of that work again in the end, right? Uh, so they are able to actually save the creature. Now I'm not sure. It seems like the little guys on the tall kind of moving things that kind of remind me of like a giraffe. They shake off and they restore whatever Jaeger Clay destroys, sort of thing, because he blazes a trail, and then these guys come in and just make it a new type thing. And then, yeah, they end up saving the tortoise or turtle, and then Ethan decides that he's going to stay, I guess, in the innards of the creature, while the rest of them decide to stay at the top, because I guess he wants to explore more of the strange world that they never knew was underneath, and I guess maybe they can kind of make it habitable for humans as well, seeing as it, yeah, I guess more in the lungs section was where they were kind of maybe recolonizing some of the people down there to make a new home for themselves. Now, I guess this isn't going to hurt the creature in any way now that it's back at full health. So I suppose they're not really doing any real damage to it. But then when it zooms out at the end of the movie, you do find out that the creature is actually on Earth. So it's like a world within our world, which is a really cool concept, actually. And yeah, just a very interesting concept for a movie to think about, right? Like a creature living on Earth so big that it actually can be seen from the outside of Earth, just kind of roaming around through the water, um, and having people live on it without them even knowing that that's where they were. Seems kind of strange. Now I don't know how, which kind of makes sense for, I guess, the title of the movie, Strange World. Now don't know how far in the future this is supposed to be. So it's, yeah, kind of interesting to think about whether it's supposed to be like in our time now, or whether it's supposed to be set a little bit further in the future. But anyhow, I give this movie a 7 out of 10. It was kind of a fun movie. Um, again, it was animated. I would actually like to see a live action adaptation of this, just to kind of see like what the animation could potentially be. And I know Disney is kind of famous for that now, um, bringing like the older movies to the live action adaptations, and some of them do well, some of them kind of flop. But I mean, it is what it is. You're not going to know until you make the movie, right? Sometimes you just got to create it, whether it gets a good review or a bad review. It doesn't really matter. Um, Somebody's going to like it, somebody's going to hate it, right? That's it. That is what it is with any movie, or TV show, or so on and so forth. You're going to have mixed reviews. So yeah, I gave this movie a 7 out of 10. I would say go on to Disney and watch it for yourself and see what you think. I thought it was just kind of a fun adventure movie, and yeah, would love to see a live action adaptation of it if that ever happens. And who knows, maybe somebody working for Disney will watch this and we'll get one later on in life. And maybe if I have kids someday, I can take them to see the live action adaptation. That would be pretty cool, hey? Uh, but other than that, yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in the next review. Bye bye for now.